Diego Simeone stood in front of the cameras after the first leg at the Wanda Metropolitano and delivered what he intended as a warning. He said, "As the game went on, we noticed their fatigue. The weight of going for the Premier League, trying to win the Champions League, all of that accumulated, and we picked up." He was not wrong about the first leg. Arsenal were dominant for 45 minutes and then visibly tired in the second half as Atletico's tactical adjustment took hold. Simeone saw it, he identified it, he used it. And he said publicly, with the confidence of a man who has won league titles and reached Champions League finals, that Arsenal's schedule would do his work for him, that the Fulham game on Saturday would take more out of Arsenal than the dead rubber La Liga weekend would take out of Atletico, that by the time Tuesday came, fatigue would be Arsenal's enemy again. And then Arsenal went out and beat Fulham 3-0 at half-time. 24 touches in the opposition penalty area to 1. 14 shots to 2. 6 shots on target to 0. Gyökeres with 2 goals and an assist. Saka with a goal and an assist on his first Premier League start since March. Ødegaard and Havertz not even in the starting lineup. The most dominant first half Arsenal have produced all season. Arguably the best 45 minutes of Arteta's entire tenure at the club. Simeone built his pre-match psychology around fatigue. Arteta's answer was not a press conference, it was that performance. And now Tuesday is here, the Emirates, a full house, a crowd that was encouraged to line the streets and make the stadium an impossible environment before the first whistle even blows. Arsenal need a win, Atletico need a draw. One of the most important nights in this stadium's history. Let us understand exactly why Simeone's fatigue theory has been turned on its head, and why Arsenal go into tonight as genuine favourites to reach the Champions League final. Start with what Simeone actually predicted. His logic was coherent. Atletico's La Liga season was over in any meaningful sense, safe in the top 4, nothing to play for on the weekend. So Simeone rested 11 players. Julian Alvarez wrapped in cotton wool, Griezmann protected, Giuliano Simeone, Marcos Llorente, Alexander Sorloth and David Hanko all rested entirely. His squad came into this week with full tanks and fresh legs, while Arsenal had to play a Premier League fixture they could not afford to lose. That was the imbalance Simeone identified. That was the weapon he thought he had. And in theory, it was real. But Arteta saw it too, and he managed it with a level of precision that should make Atletico's coaching staff deeply uncomfortable this morning. Ødegaard did not start. Havertz did not start. Saka played 45 minutes and was withdrawn at half-time. Specifically, his withdrawal was precautionary, with Tuesday in mind. Zubimendi was rested entirely. Calafiori started, giving him match sharpness while protecting the higher-minute players. Lewis Skelly, a 19-year-old who had been waiting all season for his moment, played and excelled in central midfield. Arteta did not play the match Fulham came to contest. He played the match Tuesday demanded. He used Saturday as a controlled training exercise in competitive conditions, resting the players most critical for tonight while giving the squad energy, confidence and 3 points. When the official club account described the first half as a quite brilliant performance, they were not being generous. They were describing what happens when a squad plays with freshness, with belief, and without the weight of 60-something minutes at the Wanda Metropolitano in their legs from 3 days earlier. Simeone's plan to let the schedule tire Arsenal out ran directly into Arteta's plan to not be tired. Now let us talk about what that Fulham performance actually reveals about what Atletico will face tonight. The half-time statistics were not a fluke. They were the product of a specific physical and psychological state. Arsenal with fresh legs, Arteta's exact words, move differently. The individual quality increases. The team flows in a different way. The connections between players happen faster, more naturally, with less effort. And when you have 20 goals in all competitions from Gyökeres, a Saka who the manager himself described as feeling loose and relaxed for the first time since his Achilles issue cleared, and a squad that produced 14 goal contributions in the first half against a professional Premier League side, that is not just form, That is a team arriving at the right moment. Gyökeres is now the first Arsenal player to score 20 or more goals in their debut season since Alexis Sanchez in 2014-15. He is third in the entire Premier League for goals in all competitions this season, behind only Haaland and Thiago. His first half numbers against Fulham were almost offensively efficient. 5 touches in the box, 3 shots, all 3 on target, 2 goals. Every time he touched the ball in a dangerous area, something happened. And he is going into tonight having scored in a Champions League semi-final at the Wanda Metropolitano and then added 2 more at the Emirates 3 days later. Atletico's defensive record away from home makes that profile terrifying. They have conceded at least twice in 7 of their last 10 road games, 7 out of 10. A team that leaks goals away from the Metropolitano, now coming to an Emirates that will be at the highest possible volume, against a striker in the form of his life, supported by a Saka whose Achilles pain is finally gone. When Arteta said of Saka that the pain is gone, that was arguably the most significant tactical update of the entire week. Because when Saka is pain-free and moving freely, he does not just contribute directly, he changes the geometry of the game. Defences shift to account for him. Space is open for Gyökeres centrally, for Eze arriving late, for runs from deep. A fully fit Saka makes every other Arsenal attacker more dangerous simply by existing on the pitch. Atletico's defensive shape, which Simeone constructs with such care and precision, has to solve a problem it has rarely faced this season, an Arsenal attack with Saka and Gyökeres both operating at peak. Let us revisit what Simeone actually got right in the first leg, because being honest about it makes tonight's opportunity even clearer. His half-time tactical adjustment was excellent. He withdrew Giuliano Simeone, an attacker, for centre-back Robin Lenormand, moving to a back 3. The reasoning, as CBS Sports identified, was that the back 3 allowed his dangerous forwards, Alvarez, Lookman, Griezmann, to get closer to each other and attack the spaces between Arsenal's defenders, rather than trying to work through or around the outside. It was particularly significant for Lookman, who had spent the first half holding width on the left flank, isolated from Alvarez. The back 3 brought him infield, and once he was infield, Atletico became a different team. Simeone will attempt something similar tonight. He will look to exploit the spaces in behind Arsenal's defensive line on the counter. He knows Arsenal have to win. He knows Arsenal will push forward, and he will set his team to absorb that pressure and hurt them when they advance too eagerly. But here is the problem Simeone cannot solve with a tactical adjustment. Atletico have conceded at least twice in 7 of their last 10 away games. Their defensive structure away from home is not the fortress it is at the Metropolitano. The crowd, the noise, the intimidating atmosphere that is Simeone's greatest tactical weapon, all of it belongs to him at home. Tonight, it belongs to Arsenal. And an Emirates that has been asked to line the streets for the team bus arrival, that has been building toward this night for weeks, that understands exactly what is at stake. That Emirates is not a neutral venue. It is a weapon. The crowd matters. Arteta said it plainly after the Fulham win. When you feel that connection with them, we are much, much better. He walked around the pitch at full time, embracing the supporters who stayed. He was telling them directly, your energy is part of the plan. It is not decoration. It is tactical. Simeone used his crowd at the Metropolitano as a weapon. Tonight, Arteta uses his. There is one more thing Simeone said after the first leg that needs to be addressed fully, because it contains a truth that cuts in both directions. He said, I think the referee felt it was one. He was talking about the first penalty, the one awarded for the foul on Gyökeres. He was suggesting the referee was influenced by the crowd into giving a penalty he did not fully believe in. He was, in other words, arguing that the atmosphere affected the referee's decision-making. He may well be right about that. And tonight, in front of a full Emirates, in front of 50,000 people who understand exactly what is at stake and have been asked to create the loudest possible environment, the same dynamic applies. Simeone's philosophy is that an intimidating atmosphere affects opponents, affects referees, affects every element of a football match. He has built an entire career on that principle. Tonight, that principle works against him. Arsenal have not lost in 13 Champions League games this season. A win tonight sets a new club record, 14 unbeaten, ending a 20-year exile from the final. The last time Arsenal went 13 Champions League games unbeaten, the campaign ended in a final appearance. The historical precedent is there. The statistical edge, Opta rating Arsenal as the most likely team in the competition to lift the trophy, is there. The form is there. Simeone said fatigue would be Arsenal's enemy. Arteta answered that with rotation, with Odegaard and Havertz rested, with Saka given 45 controlled minutes, with a 19-year-old midfield debutant who performed with the composure of a seasoned professional, and with a performance that Arteta himself described as probably one of the best first halves all season. Here is the full tactical picture for tonight. Odegaard returns. He is expected to be fit, having been managed carefully all week. The captain comes back for the game that defines the season. His presence changes everything about Arsenal's creative fluency. The passes nobody else sees, the tempo control, the pressing coordination. The Arsenal that was dominant in the first half at the Metropolitano was largely the Arsenal of Odegaard's best football. Tonight he returns to the Emirates with full rest behind him. Zubimendi returns alongside Rice. That midfield three of Rice, Zubimendi and Odegaard is the one Gerrard identified after the first leg as a genuine elite combination. Rice's 83 completed passes at the Wanda Metropolitano were the second most by an English midfielder in a Champions League semi-final since records began. He does not make mistakes under pressure. He does not give the ball away. He does not panic when the crowd is hostile. Tonight the crowd is not hostile to him. Tonight it is behind him. Eze is available. All 7 of his Premier League goals this season have come in London. Ian Wright called him a moments player, the kind of player who produces when the game demands it most. A Champions League semi-final second leg at the Emirates, with Arsenal needing a goal to reach a final for the first time in 20 years, is precisely the kind of moment Wright was describing. Atletico come in with their rested players. Alvarez, Griezmann, Lookman, Llorente, Hanko, all freshened up. But freshness does not neutralise 24 touches in the opposition box. Freshness does not solve a leaky away defensive record of conceding twice in 7 of their last 10 road games. And freshness does not turn the Emirates into the Metropolitano. Simeone said fatigue would accumulate. He was talking about Arsenal. What has accumulated instead is this. A 3-0 first half that produced the best 45 minutes of Arteta's tenure. A striker who has scored 20 goals in his debut season and is walking into tonight on the back of a brace and a Champions League semi-final goal. A Saka whose Achilles pain is finally gone. A captain who has been rested and is ready. A crowd that has been primed for weeks to be the loudest and most intimidating in the country. And a manager who, when told his team would be too tired to compete, responded by making them fresh. Simeone's fatigue plan has been answered. Now Arsenal answer the bigger question. 20 years since the last final, 1 win away. The Emirates is ready, the squad is ready, the captain is back, Tuesday is here. Go and make history.